For everyone that's new and haven't been here, right, this is the 13 principles of faith, which is the foundations of Judaism. If you don't have them, you're not part of the Jewish community, whatever this means. It is not only you have to believe in them, but really, really know them in your heart, in your soul, and internalize them. We did principle number 1, that there is a God, right? We spoke about, you remember this whole thing? We spoke about what does it mean that there's a God, there's another, you're in a dimension that's an illusion, but really there's God and you're supposed to be in his world because everything that's created, it's really relative because being that it's creative is not absolute. And then I threw at you a bomb. I hope everyone remembers the bomb. If you don't remember the bomb, you go back to your notes. Okay, really I have no time to make a summary of the bomb, so we're going to start. Principle number 2. Okay, again, in the first 4 principles, I teach you philosophy and then I throw at you a bomb. And the bomb is very important, okay? I'm going to translate literally because it is very important that you understand each word, okay? Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema, I believe with perfect faith, okay? Principle number 2. Shaborei barach shemo u yachid, that the Creator, blessed be his name, is yachid, unique, okay? Ve'en yachiduto kamohu b'shum panim, and there's no uniqueness like him in any way, okay? I'm going to explain this soon. That the Hashem is unique, and there's no uniqueness like him in any way. Vehu levado Elokeinu, and only him is our God. This is very important. Vehu haya ove ve'yeh, and he was, is, and will be. Okay? Great. Again, we're saying here 3 main ideas about God. He's unique, and he's only in his uniqueness. What does it mean? Now, you might think you're unique, okay? Even though I think I'm unique because I'm the only one with an accent, I'm cute. No, we're not. Rivka was here, and everyone thought she was me. You understand? All of us are really not that unique. Why? Because even though you are unique in the sense that you're the only Ailey Kramer, and you're the only Olivia, the wife of Popeye, or whatever you want, right? There's always a point of, relationship you could have with someone else. Let's say you're all girls, you're all singles, you're all this age. There's a point that you could connect to something else. Apart from that, you can say, you are Sabrina and you're not Ellie. You understand? And from that, you could understand what someone is, what something is not. I could say this is a table and this is not a chair. And therefore, I have understanding of what the table is. With God, it's very different. Because with God, there's no point of understanding anything because there's no point that I could relate to God at anything. I cannot say God is God and not a table. Because really, if you think about it, a table wouldn't be able to exist without God. Now, obviously, a table is not God, but a table has godliness. You understand? Whatever that means. So the idea that the Torah is saying, and I'm going to explain this further because this is very important and very deep, is that God is the only one that is God. There's nothing else like him. This is one of the main Jewish ideas in the world. There's a famous saying of our sages that says, Ein od milevado. You ever heard this quote? Right? I'll write it for you. Ein od milevado, which means there's no one else apart from him. Milevado, which means, right, there's no one else apart from him in whatever he is. It doesn't mean there's no one else apart from Raquel, that is Raquel. No, there's no one else apart from God in whatever God is. Therefore, now that means greatness for God, but that also means a weakness on our side. What is the weakness on our side? There's no way you could understand God. Why? Because any point, any word, any idea you would ever use in order to refer to anything, there's no way you can use it in order to refer to God. Because there's no one else like God. There's no one that fits into a description of God. So there's nothing you could say God is and God is not. Because any word that you would ever use, it's a word that would be used in order to qualify, in order to define something that is not godly. But being that God, it's only God. There's no one else outside of God, right? There's nothing like God. There's no point of reference. This is a very important idea. Now, you're going to see this repeatedly, right? We do use words that we know because there's no other way we could try to understand God. You know, like you're going to see, like especially with physical body, we say God saw. But what God doesn't have eyes, and I'm going to talk about this soon, right? But we need to use certain words that we could understand. If I would tell you the choo-choo-choo of God, you'd be like, what is the choo-choo-choo? You don't understand, okay? And therefore, we use terms in our language in order to be able to understand something as deep and as great as God. But, this is very important, there's no point of reference. So understand that whenever you're trying to say something about God, You're always limited in what you're saying, and it never really exactly refers to God. And I'm going to teach this to you soon because this is very important. The other thing that we say, and I'm going to put this now into words, is Hu levado Elokeinu. Only Him is our God. So now you could say, oh, this is easy, right? But I'm going to tell you to which concept this applies. This applies specifically to a concept of suffering, to a concept of pain. A lot of people say, yes, there is God, but there is evilness. No, Hu levado. He's the source of everything. By the way, understanding this, whatever this means, right? It's pretty much the logo of the Jewish people. Which line is the line that if you're ever Jewish, you know this line? What is the line that you would say it's like the Jewish line? Shema, right? What does the Shema say? Shema Israel, Hashem Elokeinu. God is our God. God is one. What does that one mean? Right? Not only that, but what does that one mean? Sometimes you see all the pain, and what do you say? Wait, God, you're the same God that gives children and the same God that kills children? You're the same God that gives me, a marriage and then does the Holocaust? It's very hard for us to get to this understanding that God is one. Now, by the way, when I throw at you the bomb that I'm going to throw at you here is going to change your life forever. Because if it means that God is only one, it means that in a certain sense, Holocaust and marriage are the same. Because they're still coming from the same exact source. And like you could be thinking, but how could it be? Because one is so evil and so dark, and the other one is so good and so nice. But that's exactly what we're saying. This is why I'm going to tell you a little secret, and again, I'm going to explain this much more later. You ever notice that you always say the Shema with your eyes closed? Yeah. Always. This is halakha, by the way, you should go like this. Sephardi people go like this. I'll teach you why later, because then you're going to want to be Sephardi, because it's really cute. Okay, we go like this. You ever notice this? No? Okay? I'm going to teach you later. But why do you have to say the Shema with your eyes closed? So think about this for one moment. Huh?
So you're not like associating the oneness with any one particular thing, but you're associating it with...
Oh, she's giving big words here. Okay, well, we're going to use some of this, right? But in this world, what would you say is the most important sense of all of the senses? Which one? Eyes. Everyone says seeing is believing, right? In Holon, there's the blind museum and there's the deaf museum. Everyone goes to the blind one. Poor deaf people. No one cares about their museum. I'm going to tell you, the deaf museum is so much better than the blind one, like for real, out of this world. Because the blind museum is to have an experience of how it would be if you would be blind. The deaf museum is a museum of connection, how to relate to people without having the ability to speak. Best museum ever, okay? Like, amazing museum. But what is the point? You always say, seeing is believing. Why? Because your eyesight never lies. What you see is what you get. This is what you think. But the Torah says that's not true. What you see is not what you get. It's not for real. In the Shema, you're making a statement that there's one God. Yeah? And what does oneness mean? He is the source of everything. But really, it's very hard for us to see that. It's very hard for us to understand that. So when we say the Shema, where we're accepting God as being the source, look at this, amazing, you close your eyes. Why? Because you say, honestly, God, if I look at what's going on in the world, there's no way I could think you're the one. I for sure, like for my own sake, for my own understanding and living at peace, I need to think that there's something called evilness. Because God, if you're good, how are you doing this? I can't really get it. So I close my eyes and I say, even though I cannot always see you, I know you're here. You understand? This is what you're saying. And it's halakha to close your eyes. Because if you open your eyes and you try to understand, what you see is what you get. In this world, there's no way to honestly be able to say that you know that God is one. There's no way you could say this. This is why, by the way, I'm not going to explain all of this now, but this is why you say, hear God. You ever notice this? Why do you say, hear God? So now this is going to sound funny to you, but in order to see, you have to see. You know what that means? Like if I close my eyes, there's a world around me, but I won't be able to see it. In order to see, I have to willingly want to see. Yes? But that's not the same with hearing. When I go to sleep, I don't want to hear Chevy crying. But last night she cried one time. You know why? Because she has jet lag. Do I want to hear Chevy crying? No, I want to sleep tight and nicely. You understand? I mean, except I don't want to leave Chevy crying because she's so pretty, Chevy, you know? So like, Jasita. Okay, Chevy's my baby. We talk about her a lot. She's very special. And the other person you need to know is Yeshaya. He's my husband. He's also pretty popular. Okay, moving on. But what is the point, right? I don't want to hear. You know, I don't want to hear construction. But what happens, once your ears are open, you hear anything that's around, even though you don't want to hear it. You understand that? Yeah? Meaning, it's automatically. It functions whether you want it or not. In order not to hear, I have to close my ears. It's not the same with seeing. You have to, like, look into a point, and then you could see. You say, Hashem, if I try to see you, I won't be able to see you, so I'm going to close my eyes, because to be honest with myself, I can't say you're there and I see you 100%. But I know that even though I cannot always see you, in the darkness, I can always hear you. You understand that? That's pretty much what you're saying, and I'm going to explain this later. I can always hear you in the midst of the darkness. Even though you're not the loudest sound, you're like Chevy in the background. If I really, pay attention to everything I'm listening, I'm going to notice that you're there, even though I didn't know you're there. And I'm going to explain this to you. What does it mean? Right? Aval hu levado Elokeinu. There's only one God. He's the source of everything. So the question is, how God? How could you be one and still fit into our definition of goodness, right? Or whatever you want to define God as, and at the same time cause everything that's going on in the world? What does it mean that you're oneness? And the last thing it says is, He is past, present, and future. So this answers the question of, how does God knows everything and you still have free will? Why? Because God is past, present, and future. And I'm going to explain this in a minute. Great. So principle number 2. Let's go like this. There are 3 words that we use in order to explain the oneness or the uniqueness of God. And each one of them refers to a different state. Because when I say God is one, it's like I say, I'm one Raquel. No, but I'm not one in the way that God is one. You understand? So there are 3 different ways that we explain the oneness of God. So everyone get this? This is very important. Number 1 is echad. Echad means one, okay? Number 2 means yachid. Yachid means unique, okay? Unique means there's no one else like. And the third one is meyuchad. Anyone knows what meyuchad means? Special. You're a special child. Okay? Echad, yachid, umeyuchad. God is echad, one, yachid, unique, and meyuchad, special. Okay? Great. Let's go into it. What does echad means? Echad means God is one. It means He's not divisible. You could say that? Yeah. That's a word? Great. Okay. I forgot I haven't spoken English in 2 weeks and a half. Okay? So 2 weeks. So it might be I'm having a bad accent today. Not that I have a nice accent every other day, but it could be I sound more chola, we say in Spanish. You know what chola means? Okay. It could be I sound a little cholita. This is why I never hear myself in recording, because I always used to think I speak perfect English, and then I heard myself one time and I was like, really, I sound like that? How can I teach in English? Horrible. But now I do listen to myself, because I found out I'm very funny. I listen to myself, I like crack up. I'm so funny. Okay, whatever. But the point is, God is one, okay? Let me give you a definition of this. He has no characteristic, no qualities. He's not indivisible. God is one. What does one mean? Okay, this is very important. If you remember chemistry or any of these things, you learn that there are 2 things. There is something called a compound. There is something called an element. Anyone remembers this? Great. What is a compound? Sam, hey Fuad. What is a compound? Compuesto. You want to learn some Spanish? Okay, I teach you. What is a compound? A compound is the gathering of many elements to form a greater element. I guess you could say it like this, okay? It's when you gather lots of things in order to form something that is greater, and it's made out of every single compound, every single element, like water. What is water? H2O. H2O, it's made out of 2H and 1 O. This is a compound. Each H, each O, it's an element. An element is made out of atoms, protons, whatever. I'm not going to go into it, but it's the smallest, I guess, existence, you could say like this. Whatever, you understand what I'm trying to say, okay? The smallest thing. Now, what happens when a compound is made out of many elements, right? If you take out an element of the compound, right, then the compound still exists, even though it's not the same as it was before, but it's still in existence. It's just lacking a certain part. Everyone got this? This is very important. This is human beings, right? We're made out of many, many elements. Now, if any element of ourselves ceases to exist, we still exist, it's just we're not the same. If Barminam lo aleinu, I lose an arm, I'm still Raquel, I just have one arm, right? Now, the amazing thing is that your knowledge is also a compound of yourself, an element of your compound. If you forget something or you cease to know, you're still you just have less knowledge. Okay, this is the way it works. You ever saw that movie, 50 First Dates? This is a very cute romantic movie if you ever want to see it with your soon-to-be husband. Okay, great. No boyfriends allowed in Neve. Okay, soon-to-be husband, right? So what happened in this movie? Drew Barrymore every single day wakes up and forgets everything she ever knows. And Adam Sandler makes her fall in love with him again every day. Wouldn't you want your husband to do this for you? Okay, it's so nice. Until he gives up and then he just makes a movie. Okay, because too much work every single day. Now, Drew Barrymore forgets everything every single day. Is she still Drew Barrymore? Yeah, she's still the one. You know, she forgets, but she is. Now, we human beings and every single other thing in the world, it's like that. We're the most complicated compound of elements, right? But now, we're not one. We're made out of many, many parts. That's what it means we're not one. You understand? One means there's just one part. Now, I'm going to tell you something that sounds very, very deep, but it's very, very simple. God is only one element. It's the most complicated element that exists, but is one. Therefore, that means if any part of God, which has no parts, would cease to be, God would cease to be. Because he's not made out of anything, he's just one. You understand? God has no arms, no legs, no nothing that could be taken away. He is just one. Now, if you understand this concept, then you understand a lot of things that have to do with your life. For example, people tell me all the time, how could it be that if God knows everything, we still have free will? Now, the fact that God knows has nothing to do with your free will, but anyways, I'm going to explain this to you. But as the Rambam says, right, let me tell this to you, this is very important. God and his knowledge are one. God is knowledge itself. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning, if God would cease to know, he wouldn't be God. God is one with his knowledge. It's all included in one thing. Again, we're a compound of many elements. There are more complicated and more simple compounds. God is as if one element. Now, it sounds like God is very hard, you know? God is very simple. He's just one element, you know? But it's the most complicated element in the world. This is why, by the way, our rabbis say it's so hard to understand God. There's a famous rabbi called the Ramchal. You ever heard of the Ramchal? He wrote very important books like Derech Hashem, The Way of God, whatever. He says like this: the more something is revealed, the harder it is for us to understand. Listen to it, so deep. The more something is revealed, the harder it is for us to understand. And it says why? Because we can only understand things by their cover. Right? Think about, for example, a person, right? What is the only thing you see of a person? Technically speaking, now you see lots of things that you shouldn't be seeing, but I'm just saying. Technically speaking, what is the one thing that's revealed in a human being? Their face, right? But their face is the most complicated thing in the world. It's an art to understand someone's face. How do you understand someone? By their clothing. This is how you get what they do, what do they like. This is why fashion is such a statement, because this is how I express myself. But now the clothing is not you. It's external to you. But this is the cover that I am choosing in order to express myself. This is why Judaism puts so much emphasis in modesty, which I'm not teaching you right now, but you could see some of it online. But the point is, right, this is your cover. But now the most revealed part of you is your face. We can't get your face. Now when you try to understand a human being, right, let's say, how would you understand me, or you would get an idea of me? You would see how I act in different ways, you know, what do I like, what do I dislike, all of the parts of me, and then you would be able to get to one idea of who I am. But that's through studying each one of my parts. But now here's the problem. God has no part to study, right? Who's the most revealed in the world? God. There's no way you could ever look at the world and be like, oh, there's no God. And we did this in principle number 1. But because God has no parts, how do you understand God? There's no covers, right? There's no way you could understand God because there's nothing I could grasp and say, wait, this is God, this is God, this is God, right? And therefore, I could never understand the essence of God. Now, God is really the most simple idea in the world because it's just God, but it's the most complicated idea in the world at the same time because there's nothing I could grasp of God in order to get an idea of what God is and what God is not. That's what it means that God is one. Therefore, let me tell you something very important, okay? You cannot say God is something and something He's not. For example, you cannot say God is good and God is not bad. What does good and bad means anyways, right? And I'm going to explain this later. But saying God is good would be saying that God is not bad. Therefore, there's a part called good. You understand? But God is one. Everything is included in God. This is why, by the way, whenever you pray, you could notice this. We always use the same 4 words in order to praise God. You ever notice this? If you ever open up your Amidah, your Siddur, the main Jewish prayer, the Shmona Esrei, the silent prayer, whatever you want to call it, you always use 4 words in order to praise God. These are the same 4 words that God is praised for in the Torah, and it's 4 words that really encompass everything, but are not so detailed. You say Hakel, Hagadol, Hagibor, Ve'anorah. God that is merciful, great, strong, and awesome. So that's pretty nice praises, but also it includes everything, but they are also not like detailed. They even sound the same in everything. The Torah says it is forbidden to praise God in your own words. You know this? Forbidden. Now, obviously, we all praise God in our own words, but it's already written. You say, God, you're so good, you're so kind. Okay, the Torah also says this. But what do we mean by this? So there was once a guy that came up to read the Torah on Shabbat, and at the end, he made a prayer, and he started saying, God, you're so kind, you're so good, you're so grateful, you're so this, you're so that, you're so that, 30 minutes, right? So at the end, the Hassan says, he goes down, and the Hassan says, that's it? You understand? Whatever word you would use would always be a word that would be limiting God. Because it means he's that, and he's not something else. You understand? By the way, there's not enough words in the dictionary in order to express what God is. You see this with yourself also. You ever go to like Mrs. Levitan or something like this, and she tells you to like define yourself? 5 good qualities about yourself, and you're like, I don't know anything, because you want to sound humble. That's not humble. That's having low self-esteem. Work on yourself. Okay, but what is the point? One of the reasons why you cannot find 5 qualities, I'm going to be honest, is because you don't know the words for them. You know, like one time I grabbed the book and I saw like qualities. And I was like, wow, I have this, 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 like good and bad. I never knew I had this because I didn't even know the terms for them, you know? So like this is what happens. But really, any term you could ever use, right, there's not enough terms to use in order to define every single quality. You understand? That's what it means. So you cannot praise God on your own words. So number 1, what does it mean that God is echad? He's one. There's no division. There's no particles, there's no qualities, there's no characteristics. He is one, okay? And I'm going to use this in order to explain knowledge in 1 second. Yes?
So what about how we say God is giving and we can give to him? So that means like he can't take from us, right? So when that
Yeah, so what do you want to say with that? I mean, that's a question, a very good question, but it doesn't have so much to what I'm saying. But what do you want to say with that?
You're saying like you can't say that he is something and not something.
Yeah, but I also said that we use our words in order to understand God, right? So obviously God takes, but not in the definition of what it means to take. We take because we lack.
Yeah.
God takes so that he could give to us. It's a different thing. You understand? I'm going to explain this to you. Rav Dessler says that in this world there are only 2 types of people. All of us belong to one of these categories. You're either a giver or you're a taker. This is the way it works, okay? Now, there are those, how could it be? Because sometimes I give, sometimes I take, right? Sometimes you give me chocolate. I take the chocolate because I love chocolate, okay? This is the way it works. We also talk a lot about chocolate in my class. Okay, the point is, right? Now, sometimes you're going to give me chocolate and I'm going to take it. Am I always a giver or a taker? No. Yes. How could it be? Because there are sometimes people that give in order to take, and people that take in order to give. What does that mean? You ever notice how whenever you go to a wedding of someone that is like rich, they get so much more wedding presents than poor people? You ever notice this? By the way, poor people need the presents more, but why does everyone give gifts to rich people? Because then they're going to give back another gift. You understand? Really, you only want to give gifts to people that you know are going to return to you the gift. You know, like even the poor people would give you, they wouldn't give you such a good gift, so you don't give to them. You know how you only give a birthday present to your friend because you know she's going to give you one in your birthday, right? But if she's not going to give you one, you don't give to her. Now, you might call it giving, but really you're taking. Because the only reason why you're giving is you're giving in order to take. That's not a giver, that's a taker. Now, you could be giving so much, but really whatever you're giving, it's making you a taker. Because the only reason why you're giving is because you're going to take something. Therefore, what happens when you're not taking? I'm not going to give. So really, I was never a giver. But now there are people that take in order to give, right? This is what applies to God. Let's say I give you a birthday present. Have you ever gotten something that you don't like a piece of jewelry, but it was given to you by your, I'm going to tell my mother-in-law. I already told her. But one time, Yeshaya gave me this ring, not this ring, but another ring for my wedding. It doesn't have one stone. So I was like, you know what? I'm not really materialistic, but I want a nice stone, like whatever. So then he worked very hard. After 2 years, he gave me this one. He told me it was 1 carat, liar. It was 0.25. But I thought it was 1. The point is, okay, so one day before getting this ring, I'm discussing this with Yeshaya. I'm like, I don't care if it's real. I just want something that shines, okay? Like whatever. If it blinks, I'm happy. Just give me a fake one. I have a fake one, but you won't know because I won't tell you. But the point is, so Yeshaya went to his mom and said, Raquel want a stone, because she wanted to give me a present. It was like my birthday or something. So Yeshaya is like, get her a nice zirconium. Okay, my mother-in-law doesn't understand this. She gave me one ring that's like this big, full with like zirconiums, and it's like color gold. It's not gold, but like big. And I'm like, I wanted a wedding ring. You know what I'm saying? What is this? So now she already knows I don't like it so much. She comes to me and she's like, look, I gave you a gift. If you don't like it, you should tell me. So at the beginning, I was a nice daughter-in-law, but by now I tell her, because why should I keep something? But the point is, did I wear it when I would see her, yes or no? Yes. Why? Because I liked it? No, because she liked it, right? Now, would she be happy every time I'm wearing the ring? Yes. Who's giving to whom?
You're giving to
I'm giving to her. Now, by the way, she gave me something, and I took it. But I took it in order to give. You understand? Now, really, I also took it because it's a present, and like, why not? You understand? Now, in your relationship with God, you're always the taker, he's always the giver. But now you could take in order to give. Meaning you take so God could give to you. Now, by the way, in the same way, right, God does not need to take, but we do say we do things for God. Now, obviously, God doesn't need them, right? But God sorts of take in order for you to feel like you're giving. Because really, God doesn't need anything. You understand? In your language, by the way, again, in your language. It's not the same thing. But God sort of does this. He's affected by your actions. That's what it means, the Shekhinah, right? We know that when you behave nicely, the Shekhinah comes in. He's affected by your actions so that you feel there's someone you're giving to. You feel there's someone you're connecting to. But at the end of the day, this is not the way you should function. Because God does not need anything from you. And if I'm only giving because God is going to take or whatever you want, then I'm not going to give anymore because what's the point? Right? So that's like the part for you to understand. But God does not give, does not take. But again, this is an example of how we relate to God in our terms. Okay? Yeah?
Just like if God takes something but I love.
What you what?
But I love, like my, I don't know, my mom.
No. I'm saying, like, for example, whenever you do a mitzvah, right? You're saying, God, I'm doing this mitzvah for you. Does God need your mitzvah? No, but it's as if, right, he's enjoying from your mitzvah. He's taking from your mitzvah so that you feel you're doing for him. I'm not talking about when he takes something, meaning someone died. No, that's a different story. Okay? I'm saying, like, he's affected positively by your mitzvah. But God does not need your mitzvah. Yeah? Okay, great.
It's like giving us the ability to feel like we're...
Exactly. That's exactly what we're saying. Great, so that is Echad, Yahid. Yahid means that God is unique and there's no one else like him. As we said, right, the Torah says, Melo kol haaretz kevodo. God fills the entire universe with his presence. Meaning, whatever God is, there's no space for anyone else except for God, okay? There's no other power that you could ever relate to or think that he has any faculty that is outside of God. Meaning, what does it mean that God is Yahid? Every faculty that exists gives a limitation to everything that exists except for God. Time, space, physicality. Now, for example, you could say, but our souls are godly. Yes, but now you could say, for example, this is what it means a point of reference. You have a soul inside of you, but there's no soul in the table. You understand? I mean, there is sort of a soul in the table, but not like the soul that you have inside of you. It's limited to being inside of you. You understand? If your soul is outside of you, then you're not alive. This is the way it works, okay? Meaning each one of the things that exist in the world, it's limited by the faculties that God created in a certain sense, except for God. That's what it means that he is Yahid, unique, right? Any faculty that exists does not apply to God. And number 3, God is Meyuchad. Meyuchad means that God is special. Now, the first 2 definitions of uniqueness applies to the essence of God. This is very important. The third definition of uniqueness applies to the way that he handles and supervises the world. Whatever he does it in a way that is special. What is special? Special means in God terms. You think you get it, but you don't. You ever saw MTV Diary? You think you know, but you have no idea. Okay? This is the diary of Britney Spears. You never saw that show? Okay. That's the same with God. You think you know, but you have no idea. There's a special way of how God manages the world. Now, this is the way it works, okay? There's no way you could understand the essence of God because, again, there's no point of reference. The only way we could understand God is through his ways. This is what we need to know. By the way, the quote from the Rambam, it's like this. In conclusion, right? And you want to write this quote because it's big. God knows everything. He is that which he knows, and he is knowledge himself. Everything is one. I'm going to go again, right? In conclusion, God knows everything. That is the Yahid of God, right? The uniqueness of God. He is that which he knows, right? That is, past, present, future, right? And his knowledge itself. That is oneness. You hear that? By the way, just to teach this before we go, because next time we'll continue with other things, right? Do you understand this? You understand how those time and free will and everything happens. I'm going to give you an example, right? You ever saw Titanic?
Yeah.
I was one time teaching in Mejina. There was a girl that did not see Titanic.
I was there.
Oh, you were there? So you know this example. Let's see if you remember, right? Let's say you're watching Titanic for the first time and you're like, for real? Like, hello, you should have watched it. Okay. So she gets to the part that Rose is about to jump from the ship. Olivia, you saw Titanic?
Only that part, probably.
Did you saw Titanic?
No, I hated it.
What? What's going on in this world? So it's the part that Rose is gonna jump into a water. So now listen to my question because my question is very important. How much does the scene in which Rose decides to jump or not jump and then Jack comes and saves her last in the movie? About 8 to 10 minutes? Yes? Great. How much does the whole Titanic movie last?
An hour.
2 hours and 45 minutes. You know why? Because you forget to see the first part where they find the ship and then they bring the old lady. No one looks at that, but that's part of the movie too. Okay? Now, it lasts for 2 hours and 45 minutes. Okay? Has anyone ever here seen Titanic more than 20 times? Okay. How much? I've seen Titanic at least 30 times. Like at least. The best movie ever. Especially when people die and then, Rose freezes and it's very special. The point is, okay, how much does Titanic, listen to my question because this is very important. How much does Titanic last in my mind? A second. It says technology explains really well Torah. I mean, I don't know how people look at movies these days, but I got stuck in the DVD age. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. Do we still have DVDs?
Yeah.
Okay. You know how when you go into a DVD, you could choose any scene from any movie?
Yeah.
Okay? That's the mind of anyone that knows something. I could go into any scene from any movie in Titanic in any second in my mind because I know the movie so well, I could just jump into it. Now, Olivia and my friend here, Daphna, right? They have not seen Titanic. So when they're looking at Titanic for the first time, they see Rose and she's gonna jump, she's not gonna jump, she's gonna jump, she's not gonna jump. Now, she's not gonna die because she was mentioned first on the credits, so for sure she cannot die, right? But you're biting your nails, what's going on? She's gonna die, the movie's gonna be gone. Now, I already know that she's gonna jump, not jump, almost falls, then Jack saves her, then he's blamed for almost raping her and the whole thing, right? Okay? I know this whole thing. Why? Because I already know it in my mind. In my mind, there's no past, present, and future, meaning the movie has past, present, and future. But in my mind, it's all in the present. Because at any moment, I could just reach my mind and choose the scene. This is the way it works. That's God. It's very important to know this. Free will and knowledge, or whatever you want to call it, it's a faculty that it's limited to those that are bound by time. Someone that is not bound by time not only does not have free will, but also has no idea of knowing more and knowing less. Because knowing more means I didn't knew, now I know. Knowing less means I knew, I forgot. You know what this also means? This also means God is like, wow. Because everything that there could be that you could ever know, that could ever be, God already knows. It's like I always say, it's like taking the SATs, where you have all of the answers, one is correct, and the other ones are the ones you could end up choosing because you think are correct, but they're not. You know, they never give you a real mistake. They give you like the, there's a word for that in English. I don't know how you call it. Yeah, they're evil. So you always think you're right. Really, God knows this. You know, and by the way, I always tell you, you check this thing called Bible codes. There is every single possibility that could be, that was, and that would have been, and that it's all in there. Because if God would know more or know less, he wouldn't be God. That would mean he's bound by time. That would mean he's limited. You understand? And therefore, God cannot know more, cannot know less. Everything that could be, and you're like, oh, but how did God knew that? It didn't even happen. That's exactly what it means to be God. It doesn't need to happen in order for God to know that, because God is not bound by time. He sees every single possibility of the movie at every second. Now, I know Rose didn't jump, but she could have jumped, right? God knows that. God knows she could have jumped, she didn't jump, she did jump. God knows everything. And therefore, the fact that you're choosing doesn't affect what he knows or not know, because he knows what you're going to choose, but he also knows all of the probabilities that you had in order to choose, and you didn't choose them and you chose one of them. It doesn't affect you, right? Now, I could explain this more, but I'm not into his topic yet of free will. But the fact that you have free will has nothing to do with what God knows, because you're bound by time and God is not bound by time. That is what it means that God is one with his knowledge. What he knows and who he is oneness. You understand? Great. We'll continue with this on Wednesday. Wednesday, I teach you regular hour, okay, before recess. Now they change all the schedules, so you get it. Beautiful. I'm going to throw you a bomb next Wednesday.